that puts a whole new factor into how the global economy needs to work.
Senator Clinton, we've talked about possible fiscal stimulus for the economy. What about monetary stimulus? The Fed has cut rates. There are those who feel, though, that Ben Bernanke and company are behind the curve on trying to deal with the credit crunch and the slowing economy. What is your view? You've had close dealings with the Fed since you became a senator there in New York. What is your view of the job that Ben Bernanke is doing right now? And as president, would you reappoint him as Fed chairman?
Well, I'm not going to engage in speculation. I think he's been dealt a very hard hand, and he's trying to play it, and we all know what the concerns are. We've got to figure out how to stimulate the economy and not trigger inflation that would take away a lot of the benefits from the stimulus. So he's trying to, match what are often competing considerations. I agree with what he's done so far in trying to cut interest rates. We may need to do it again. That's why I have been pushing for a freeze on interest rates with home mortgages, because if you look at what's happening in the economy, real wages are not going up. We haven't had private sector job growth. How is the American consumer staying afloat? By going further and further into debt, refinancing homes, more and more credit card debt. We've got student loan debt. We've got car payment debt. We have so much debt in this country. We need to say, look, we've got to get a handle on this debt, because you can lower interest rates, through the Fed on a monetary side, but the interest rates that are going up, that the clearest example are the, adjustable rate mortgages and all of the other very exotic vehicles that were sold to people. So you've got interest rates going up in a major part of the economy while the Fed is trying to get interest rates down. That just doesn't add up. So I think we've got to have a more effective combination of monetary and fiscal action today. It's not only stimulus, it's changing some priorities. I would look hard at the bankruptcy code to give people, more relief who are on the brink of losing homes, who frankly have been the victims of a lot of predatory and fraudulent practices. We've got to look at this economy more broadly than just, okay, what can the Fed do, next month to try to boost a little bit more confidence and get back into borrowing.
There's so much to talk to you about. I really wish we had a full half hour with you, and we'd love to have you come back and spend that time with us. But when you talk about freezing interest rates, there are those who say that basically is acting as a price control, and there are others who say, hey, look, I'm an investor in Citigroup, I'm an investor in J.P. Morgan. Those banks have counted on the appreciation of interest rates for their bottom line. And as a shareholder, you're hindering the bank's ability to basically make money on those loans they lent to homeowners. So where do you come down on the issue of price controls and those who are holding the stock of a Citigroup and a J.P. Morgan and the like?
Look, this is a very broad-based problem. And there's enough responsibility to go around. And a lot of the banks, a lot of the institutions that created these structured investment vehicles that bundled these big prime, subprime mortgage packages, they bet the same way these homeowners bet, that housing prices would always go up, and it was a bad bet. They're taking a lot of write-downs, as we know. We've got to stop the bleeding, and I think that everybody's going to have to share in what needs to be done. A lot of these SIVs that are floating around in Asia, Europe, and elsewhere, the ultimate holders of those papers, obviously they feel like, wait a minute, I invested in this knowing that, or thinking that rates would go up, a couple of percentage points over the course of this mortgage.
Right.
Our economy can't afford this right now. So we've got to make some tough decisions. I think that, freezing interest rates on these home mortgages will give us an opportunity to look hard at how we're going to work our way out of this. And for those who hold the paper, they're already taking the write-downs. They will get a return. They won't get a return perhaps as high as they anticipated. But if they foreclose on all of these homes, millions of Americans out of their homes, a housing market that will go even softer than it is now. What are the results of that? And how will they ever get any kind of workout payoff on what they invested in? So I think we have to look at this more broadly. That's why I went to Wall Street on December 5th and said, guys, you got to be part of the solution, because, you were part of the problem in what we have inherited.
Well, do you think CEOs then of some of these large companies should walk away with compensation packages?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you what. for Countrywide to give their CEO, who was one of the principal architects of this whole house of cards with these exotic subprime mortgage vehicles, I think is outrageous. $110 million for enticing people. I had a woman in Reno last week who told me she took her mortgage from Countrywide. They told her that, you know, she'd always be able to pay because her house would appreciate. She's now a victim of the downturn in the economy. She calls Countrywide. They say, well, let's give you another loan. Well, this is totally, absurd. Where are we headed in this direction? So I think that, executives of a lot of these companies that participated in creating this very difficult set of problems we're trying to work our way out of, should not be rewarded with $110 million as they walk away.
Senator Clinton, we know you have a busy day to get to. Thank you for your time once again. Good to see you again.
Good to talk to you. Thank you.
All right.